Where are you guys from now?
A little bit everywhere.
Oh, that's
Boston, New York, South Korea, Singapore.
Oh, you in the service?
Nope, just work oil and gas.
Oh, well, that'll explain. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what kind of effect is this hurricane going to have on the oil and gas industry?
Big time.
Or are there going to be some of the major disruptions?
Well, the next two that come along have any kind of catastrophic effect like the last one, gas is going to go up.
I think it probably already has in some
Yeah,
places.
it has gone up a bit, but it's going to really, really go up. So,
And they got another one that looks like heading down the pike. Huh?
Two of them.
Now let me ask you something. This is what I've been asking people. And this is what, maybe you can help me out here, because I'm very confused on this. If you go back and look up the history of weather weapons.
Weapons?
Weather weapons.
Weather weapons, okay.
No. I mean, Eisenhower started the Department of Weather and Climate Modification in 1954.
Okay. It's funny you say that because I was talking to somebody the other day about hurricanes. The Japanese and Chinese years ago developed, whenever there was a typhoon, they would fly into the typhoon and drop ice.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I don't know why the U.S. don't do that.
Thank you. The day after Katrina hit on InfoWars, the father of weather weapons, Dr. Ben Livingston, was a guest. He had him on as a gift. He said, if you would have given me 4 airplanes, I could have knocked out Katrina. In 1974, the UN passed the UN Weather Weapons Treaty Ban because we were using weather weapons in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Operation Popeye. So with this in mind, and again, you see where this is more going, right? With this in mind, if it's documented, we have the ability to control the weather, to stop these hurricanes.
Why don't we do it? That's a good question. I think it's politically driven.
Yes.
I think they want to utilize certain aspects of the government, aid, FEMA, Homeland Security, all that stuff. They all work in cahoots, I believe, to want allow things to happen so that the world can see that we're like everybody else.
That's a huge criminal organization we're talking about there.
The government is criminal. I got to catch up with them. Man.
All right, brother, man.
A lot of people don't talk like you talk, but it's good to listen and hear, you know?
I know I get in a lot of trouble with my mouth, man.
All right. Nice talking with you.
Have you ever heard of weather weapons?
They've talked about it for quite a few years, that they can control where these storms go.
Oh, they can. They can knock them out. You give it. In 1974, the UN passed the UN Weather Weapons Treaty Ban. Now, you don't usually have treaties on something you don't have.
No, not most of the time.
And the reason for that, the world became outraged because if you look up Operation Popeye, we were using weather weapons in Vietnam. We have weather weapons. If you look at the leaked document from the Air Force, weather as a false multiplier, controlling the weather by 2025. And there's like 2,500 pages of how they map out how they're controlling the weather and how they can do it with, bouncing frequency waves off of the ionosphere and heating up portions of the ocean and creating hurricanes and having plausible deniability and creating droughts and being able to, bet on the future commodities and making trillions of dollars. Right. So if you know next year there's going to be a drought and that crop's going to fail because you created the drought, how much more money could you make?
Oh, shit.
Thank you. So we have these weather weapons. You can right now get on your phone and hire somebody to make it rain or stop.
Well, and if they run them hurricanes right up through here, then that raises oil prices, that raises gas prices, that raises everything.
Motive.
Money. It's all fucking money.
And control.
Yeah.
The economy was starting to come back.
Oh, it's definitely coming back.
And that in order for the globalists to go ahead and continue with their plans, they have to cut any progress off at its knees. And so why not create some? Because this is what gets me. As I said, you can get on right now and hire a commercial company to make it rain or to stop it rain. 4 planes could have knocked out Harvey. Knocked it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all this bullshit about global warming, why don't we use, I know we know that, but that's why I'm saying my point is, why, knowing that we have these weather weapons, we can manipulate cloud seed, create droughts, start monsoons, you name it. Why aren't we using these weapons to combat global warming? Why aren't they even mentioned or brought up ever?
Because it don't exist.
What don't?
Global warming.
Of course it doesn't, but the weather weapons do. So they can't bring up the two in the same time.
No,
It'll blow.
Because you're contradicting yourself.
But the enormity and the magnitude of the lies here. Now just think about this. If you know this and I know this, if any one of us can get on a computer right now and look up weather weapons and see that indeed, we have these weapons, then you would think that the Secretary of Interior knows about it. You would think that that Trump knows about it.
Oh, they do.
Then are they lying to us too? Aren't they using these weapons to stop these hurricanes?
Make that money.
So they're corrupt too. So you're saying they're corrupt too?
Oh, hell yeah, they're all fucking corrupt. Or they wouldn't be where they're at. Don't you think so?
So you advocate no government?
No, I didn't say that. But it seems like every time they get somebody in there, they just turn around and fuck us just as bad as the last one did.
Yeah, but indeed, and I can't disparage
It just all
that.
depends on how bad you want to get screwed, is who you put in there. You know what I'm saying?
That's about as good as the answer I'll get all day. Thank you very much, sir. But I got something for you. This is a get out of jail free card from Hillary Clinton.
You have a wonderful day.
Yes, Al. I mean, I'm looking at it this way.
Yeah.
If you were to look up right now,
Yeah.
the UN Weather Weapons Treaty Ban, 1974. The UN passed a ban against weather weapons. And we don't normally pass bans against something we don't already have. So that was in reaction to the weather weapons that we used in Vietnam.
Yeah.
The world became enraged that we had weather weapons and we were using them.
Wait a minute, what weather weapons were we using in Vietnam?
Look up Operation Popeye. What they were doing is they were making the monsoons last longer than normal and flooding the Ho Chi Minh Trail, disrupting the Viet Cong coming in. So it was a military weapon. Do you understand that the military has been trying to control the weather since they got in a hot air balloon?
Well, yeah.
Cloud seed. You can get.
They never have really had much success.
Oh no, they have. You can right now get on your computer, your phone. You can now get on your computer and hire a private company to make it rain or not.
I'm not believing that because.
Well, get on your computer and look at it.
Too many people have gone broke trying to make that happen.
No. There's a company that's been under contract for a section of Canada. I've talked to the men, that the politicians that have a contract with the man that manipulates the weather.
Then? Wouldn't the
Again, if you look up things like HARP, look up HARP is High Altitude Aurora Reception Project. Look up the leaked 1997 document from the Air Force, Weather as a False Multiplier, Controlling the Weather by 2025. It's a 2,500-page study on detailing everything about how they go ahead and control the weather, from everything from radio wave frequencies bouncing off the ionosphere.
Okay, I'll look it up. HARP?
HARP, H-A-A-R-P.
H-A-A-R. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Please do.
If that's interesting.
Yeah.
I heard that before.
Yeah, indeed. Have a good day. Reminds me of something Mark Twain once said. It's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. Good old Mark Twain. We have had, and it's documented, and this is one of the things Alex Jones has brought up, and if you look at it, it's there. We have weather weapons. In 1974, the UN passed the Weather Weapons Treaty Ban. We don't normally pass bans against something we don't have. So we have that. It's because in Vietnam, we were using weather weapons. And look at Operation Popeye.
What do you mean, like send the jets out there, spray something, and get this thing under control, like the hurricane? That's what
Oh yeah, all kinds of things. If you look up there, and I looked this up. This is several years ago. there were 50 ongoing weather modification programs, both private, military, ongoing at that time. It was several years ago. So you can get on the phone right now and hire companies to make it rain or not rain.
Yeah.
Don't let it rain on my wedding. Stop the rain. So you can hire commercial companies to go ahead and make it rain or not. So if you can do that...
If that was true, why? I mean, they have droughts. Farmers have droughts where they lose a bunch of crops. Why don't they hire these companies to...
And they do.
Get the rain?
You can look at Ottawa hires as on retainer a full-time weather modification company to go ahead and control its, Canada does this already.
In Russia, during the military parades, they clear up the clouds if they need to.
Right. So again, why aren't these things, one, if we know they exist, I mean, you got to look up the Air Force document leaked in 1997. Weather as a force multiplier, controlling the weather by 2025. And it's a 2,500-page document going through how they manipulate the weather. Look up HAARP, in which they bounce radio frequencies off the ionosphere to heat up a section of the ocean or Gulf, create a hurricane, and then use it to stare it. So
you think there's a conspiracy? You think this is all...
Absolutely! Well, you put two together. If they have this, and here's my deal, knowing that we got these weapons, okay, so you look it up, the 1974 Weather Weapons Treaty Man, right? You went, look it up. It exists. So knowing we have these things, one, why aren't they ever mentioned in any so-called global warming? Well, if we got the well, why don't we use them to combat global warming? Why aren't they even mentioned? So, and you brought it up, if indeed the elites have the ability, because it's a perfect weapon, it means plausible deniability. Oh, you call it that hurricane. Oh, how do you know that? Hurricanes happen. Earthquakes happen, right? But if you have the ability to go ahead and create these things, and then you have different countries, because it's not like we'd be the only ones. China's got theirs. You can look up right now, China made it snow, and they shut down a city. Look it up, they made it snow. So if you were an elitist, and you had control of these weapons, and you wanted to make a lot of money and control the people, you could create a drought, bet on the futures markets, and make money off of a lack of resources. Maybe. Why wouldn't they?
I can see that.
Why wouldn't they?
So who did Houston upset to get this Hurricane Harvey?
Well, that's it. The economy was coming back like a boom, like a run, with 3% growth and picking up steam. The globalists, who do not want nation states to succeed but to have them crash, needed to stop this economic growth. Well, what's the best way to do that? You hit at the energy sector. Where's our energy sector? Houston. Thank you. It was booming. So it's highly unusual to have a storm anyway to land 5 days over one area. I mean, what? So, I mean, was it a weather weapon? Now we get another one coming up. A few days after Katrina, the guy who first flew a hurricane plane through the eye of a hurricane, right, was on the Alex Jones show. This guy is called the father of weather weapons. Look him up, Dr. Ben Livingston. All right? He said if you would have given me 4 planes, I would have knocked Katrina out. When Jones asked him to come back on, a few months later, he says, I can't come on your show. They've threatened me. So this is the father of weather weapons, Ben Livingston. Look him up, Dr. Ben Livingston, who took over Eisenhower's Department of Weather and Climate Modification, formed in 1954 by President Eisenhower. He took that program and ran with it and became known as the father of weather weapons. So this is all documentation. You cannot disprove this. It's fact. Knowing we have weather weapons, why aren't we talking about them in the global warming? Why it's just never mentioned? Why we're using them to combat that? And the answer to that is the same thing. Control. If they can go and control us by our carbon footprint, they can tax us. So it helps the one world government. You bring down the nation states, destroy the Ukraine, destroy the United States, and then come in as a savior. We're here to save you with our new world order. Just join us and everybody will be happy. It's a weather weapon. Again, you have to ask, why aren't they using these weather weapons that we know we have to stop these hurricanes? Or if they're not doing that, that maybe they're the ones creating the hurricanes.
That's a good point. Something to think about.
Global warming, ask them why, to look that up, and ask them why we aren't using these companies to combat global warming or, climate change. If we have the ability, if you can dial up your phone and for $100,000, make it rain or not.
Right. Well, it must cost a whole lot less than that to actually do it, too.
Oh,
it must cost only a few thousand to do it.
The weather weapons, comparatively to all the other weapons programs, are the most economical of all the other all the weapons we use. And they're
releasing some sort of powder.
Well, I mean,
So-
between
sort of like silicate,
chemtrails and cloud seeding and using HAARP emanating wave patterns off of the ionosphere, it's like a microwave. So you can go ahead and shoot radio waves up to the ionosphere, heat it up, point it back down a certain portion of the Gulf, create a hurricane, and then steer that hurricane to where you want it to go by using the low and high pressure regions around. So, this technology exists. We've been using it for years, and we're not the only ones.
They can steer it, though?
Sure they can.
They can control the high pressure, low pressure systems? Or they just utilize
Sure
it
they
where
can.
it's
No, they can. They can heat up certain portions of the air or land or water, and
the pressure systems are controlled by the atmosphere and everything,
which they can control by going ahead and controlling the temperatures within them.
That's wild.
Yeah, there's a leaked document. You can read it online if you got the time. I think it's 2,600 pages long. It's Weather as a Force Multiplier, Controlling the Weather by 2025. It's an Air Force leaked document. So it's about all these different means of being able to control the weather. They can use the HAARP has been told to being able to create earthquakes because they can bend the ionosphere with the pressure from the HAARP. Let it snap back down in the direction we want. It penetrates Earth, and they can create earthquakes. That's where the tsunami of the Christmas tsunami over there in Sri Lanka, they say that was caused by HAARP.
God damn.
Because they wanted them to sign in to the Pacific Agreement, the trade agreement, and they were balking. They said, so, okay, fuck you. This is what we're going to show you to do. This is what the power we have. You either do what we say or you're going to die.
God damn.
We have weather weapons.
Well, that's exciting.
Oh. It's crazy.
That is really crazy. Yeah. I need some property up in Ohio or something.
But that's it. They control the weather everywhere. I mean, it's not just here. You go anywhere and you can see the chemtrails. You can see. It's not like we can escape it. Where they chemtrail every NATO nation. It's got some weather modification program going on. They're geoengineering the entire planet. We don't even know. We don't know what's happening to the. When you have, let's say, this hurricane was caused by China. Okay. One, it's a perfect weapon. You got plausible deniability.
Right.
It's
nature.
Yeah, it's nature. What are you talking about? Hey, that's.
Well, you couldn't have done that.
Yeah, we ain't stupid.
What do you think?
Conspiracy theorist. Yeah, right. So you got plausible. Let's say, but how do we know these competing forces? Them fucking what it's doing to the real environment? I mean, you know,
We're looking at some of the worst environmental disasters, more than we could have ever imagined. Like famine and water dependency are coming real fast for the whole world.
well, again, and this is, you know, tie it in, but it's been prophesized in the Bible. It says these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Massive storms, flooding of biblical proportions, earthquakes of, you know, magnitude. You know.
Yeah.
So it ties in with that, but it also ties in with exactly what we see, leaving out the religious aspect of it. Yeah, Fukushima's killing the Pacific. Yeah, we got dead zones in the Gulf that are not producing anything. I mean, how long ago wasn't that long ago? You could go to even Whole Foods and get a pound of shrimp for $5. Fucking $20 now for a pound of shrimp. We're in the Gulf of fucking Mexico. Goddamn shrimp is like.
Because they gotta go so
Like,
far.
I mean, I'm looking at some goddamn shrimp and fish now costing more than steak. Filet mignon.
And also, guess what? Most of those shrimp and fish that they're catching now are poison.
Thank you. Again, so if, you know, I mean, I talked to a guy out here that bought shrimp from a Whole Food, not here, but in I think it was Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
that had silicone injected into the shrimp. It's from China.
Holy fuck.
They did it so the weight would be bigger, higher, and more weight.
Right. Oh fuck. I'm sure I'm glad I don't eat any meat. I'm gonna keep doing that now. Holy crap, man.
Yeah, I know. Holy crap is right.
I mean, I know the industries are all fucked up and everything. But you try to have hope for some things, you know?
Well,
kinda
knowledge
hard with
is
everything
hope. I
going
mean,
on.
this is hard to take. I mean, you understand these things are coming at us. Like you say, it's upon us. It's already happening. The food shortages are going to happen. The water shortages are going to happen. We know this. You know this.
Right, we think we're this world superpower, and yet California barely has enough water to drink. Just to drink.
And you know,
They've been having trouble
and
showering.
you know, all of this could be handled easily enough if everything was managed properly.
Right.
I mean,
right.
we know how to desalinize salt water.
Yeah, it's just expensive. Right now, as far as the word on the internet is.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, again, control. Isn't all this artificial scarcity? If they had the means to go ahead and control the weather, what other artificial?
Desalinize the water.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what me and my friends have been saying. Like, why don't we desalinize?
Because again, remember the prime directive. You always have to remember the prime directive.
Where's the money at?
That's follow the money, but that's a tool. The money's only a tool. The main objective. What is the main objective? What's the end game?
For the people with the most money to keep themselves safe.
And
Keep the people fighting each other.
and
Just to keep the world in confusion. I don't
until
nukes.
they kill everybody. They are done with us. The whole thing is about population reduction. They don't need us anymore. AI and robotics are going to take away 50% of the jobs in the next 10 years. So what are we going to do with all the people we already have out of work? And then add another...
The population's only increasing, really, with all the death.
Well, that depends, too, where you go. There's other places decreasing. Third world countries, it's
worldwide, it's
increasing.
technically still increasing, huh?
Pretty much. We're probably starting to level out about now because, you know...
With all the death and everything.
With all the chemicals and stuff we're putting in the atmosphere because they're getting killed, too.
Well, also our water supplies are getting tainted all over the world.
Yeah, so I mean they're getting poisoned too. So the population rates are going to be dramatically start. I mean, why are they building
I'm
these?
going to invest in water. I know what I'm doing. I got my game plan.
Yeah. Well, good luck with all. I mean, I'm still, you know, hoping for the best that that I'm wrong and some other thing happens.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, that's what I try to be, is just hopeful.
Well, that's what you can be. I mean, otherwise, the other.
I mean, unless you're one of the people with the most money, then you don't have to be hopeful. Then you can actually make a change. But
some do and some are miserable. Some do. Like if you look at the, the Foster Gamble, you know, He's the guy that made the documentary Thrive. Are you familiar with that? Oh, watch it. You know Procter and Gamble,
I think
right?
I've heard of it. Yeah. I know Procter and Gamble.
Yeah, well, Foster Gamble was heir to that vast fortune, and he was groomed to be a top 0.00001%. And, you know, he had an epiphany, and he says, I can't do this. These people I surround myself with are insane.
Damn.
They're insane elitists.
Wow.
You know, I can't do this. So he breaks from the agenda, and he makes this documentary called Thrive. Thrive. You can watch it on YouTube. Watch it.
Yeah.
And he gets in there, he says, the first thing he says is, these are the things that the government's been covering up for over 100 years. And he brings up, first thing is free energy suppression.
Yeah. Right.
We've had...
It's been around since before Tesla even really came up with it.
Yes. So, and who's to say that after 150 years that mankind hasn't come up with something better than the combustible engine? Yeah, I mean, it's ludicrous just to even think
It's
of
been
that.
suppressed, all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's documented that, you know, you have inventors that have been murdered, bought off, beat up, intimidated out of, you know, right? So, we know that, again, we know whether weapons exist. Yet, we still have to listen to politicians and pundits telling us that things are the way they are because that's the way they are when they're not. Because they're not mentioning the other stuff.
Right.
They're not talking to us about the weather weapons when they talk about global warming.
Yeah.
Well, why aren't you using the damn weather weapons to fight the global warming then, you morons?
Because they got to play dumb.
Thank you.
They're paid to play dumb.
But it's too obvious. I mean, this is too obvious.
It's been obvious for many years. For decades.
So anyway, that's what gives me headaches. Going around this damn mental circle jerk is insanity.
I know, it's really frustrating. That's why I'm trying to, keep up with world politics, at least a little bit, but mainly focus on, myself and just keeping healthy.
Oh, it's the smartest thing to do. I mean,
otherwise I'm going to go crazy and I'm going to be depressed and I'm going to create a lot of problems.
Well, one, you just start out first taking care of yourself. If you're not healthy mentally and physically, you're not going to be any good for anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then you wind up like me.